You didn't wake up one day and decide to be bad with money. Nobody does. You didn't sit down at some point in your life and think, you know what, I'm going to spend more than I earn, stress about my bank account every month, and feel this weird shame every time I check my balance. Nobody chooses that. And yet, here we are. Maybe you've wondered why, no matter how much you make, there's never quite enough. Maybe you've looked at your card statement at the end of the month and genuinely couldn't explain where it all went. Not fully. Not honestly. And here's the part that nobody tells you, the reason might not be about money at all. The reason might be something you haven't thought about since you were a kid. There's a specific pattern, documented, studied, replicated across thousands of people, that links the way you spend money today to something that happened in your childhood. Not a trauma. Not necessarily a big dramatic moment. Something quieter than that. Something you probably didn't even notice was shaping you. That's what this video is about. Not budgets. Not apps. Not stop buying coffee. The psychology underneath the spending. Because until you understand that, nothing else really changes. Let's go back. Not to a specific memory necessarily. Just to the feeling of being a kid in a house where money was present, or wasn't. Where money was talked about openly, or never mentioned. Where money meant safety, or tension, or love, or control. Because here's what most people don't realize, you didn't learn about money in school. You learned it at the dinner table. You learned it in the silence after a bill arrived. You learned it in the way your parents' voices changed at the end of the month. Children are extraordinary observers. They can't process economics, but they can read rooms. They can feel when something is wrong before anyone says a word. And what they feel, they internalize. Not as a thought. As a reflex. Psychologists call this financial socialization. The process by which we absorb, unconsciously, the emotional meaning of money from the people around us before we're old enough to question it. And the thing about reflexes is, they follow you. The kid who grew up watching a parent spend impulsively when stressed, learns that spending is how you handle discomfort. The kid who never had enough, learns that when money is there, you use it, because it might be gone tomorrow. The kid who was rewarded with things instead of presents, learns to measure worth in purchases. None of these are decisions. They're inheritances. And most people are living out those inheritances right now, every swipe of the card, every late night checkout, every I'll deal with it later, without ever knowing it. There are a few specific patterns that show up again and again. And I want you to listen to these carefully, not to diagnose yourself, but to recognize something. The first one is what researchers call emotional spending. And it's exactly what it sounds like, except it's deeper than it sounds. This isn't just retail therapy. This is a nervous system response. When you grew up in an environment where emotions weren't safe to express, where showing vulnerability got you dismissed, or where the house was unpredictable and you had no control, your brain found other outlets. Spending became one of them. Not because you're weak. Because you were creative. Because you found something that worked. The problem is, it still works. That's why it's so hard to stop. Buying something triggers a dopamine release that's real, immediate, and measurable. It creates a momentary sense of control in a moment where you feel none. It fills a space that something else was supposed to fill a long time ago. The second pattern is scarcity spending. This one is almost paradoxical, and it confuses people about themselves constantly. People who grew up without enough, not always in poverty, sometimes just in households where money was always tight, always uncertain, often develop a relationship with money that looks like this: when it's there, spend it. When there's abundance, accelerate. Because somewhere deep in the wiring, there's a voice that says this won't last. It's not irresponsibility. It's survival logic, applied to the wrong era. You're not a kid anymore. But the reflex doesn't know that. There's something I want to introduce here that changed the way I think about all of this. Psychologists call it the money script. It's the unconscious belief, formed in childhood, that quietly governs every financial decision you make as an adult. You didn't write it consciously. You absorbed it. And the dangerous thing about a script you didn't write is that you don't know you're following it. Some of the most common ones sound like this. Money is the root of all problems. usually inherited from a household where financial stress was constant, where money was always the reason things fell apart. People who carry this script often self-sabotage when they start to accumulate wealth. Not because they want to fail. Because somewhere in their wiring, having money feels like inviting disaster. Rich people are different from us. This one is subtle. It draws an invisible line between who you are and who those people are. And every time you get close to that line, you find a reason to spend back down to where you feel like yourself again. Money means love. This one is perhaps the most painful. It appears in households where affection was expressed through gifts, through things bought, through material compensation for emotional absence. The child grows up and spends, not to own things, but to feel something. To recreate that sensation of being cared for. And here's what makes this so hard to untangle. These scripts don't feel like beliefs. They feel like reality. They feel like just the way things are. Which is exactly why they're so powerful, and exactly why most people never question them. You can't rewrite a script you don't know you're reading. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Overspending isn't just a mental pattern. It lives in the body. There's a moment, you probably know it, where you're not even really thinking about buying something. You're just browsing, scrolling, walking through a store with no real intention. And then something happens. A notification. A memory. A conversation that left you feeling small. A day that went sideways. And suddenly you're checking out. Suddenly there's something in your cart that wasn't there 5 minutes ago. That's not a decision. That's a response. What happened in that moment is that your nervous system registered a threat, stress, loneliness, boredom, that specific kind of emptiness that doesn't have a name, and it reached for the fastest available relief. And the fastest available relief, in the world we live in now, is a purchase. One click. Instant. Delivered tomorrow. The entire architecture of modern retail is built around this moment. They didn't create the vulnerability, but they know exactly where it is. And this is where childhood comes back in a very specific way. Researchers in developmental psychology have found that children who grew up in emotionally unpredictable environments, homes where love was inconsistent, where safety felt conditional, develop a heightened stress response as adults. Their nervous systems learn to stay alert. Learn to seek relief quickly. Learn that comfort is temporary and needs to be grabbed when it's available. That alertness kept you safe once. Now it's expensive. Not metaphorically. Literally. You can trace it in the numbers, in the statements, in the subscriptions, in the things you bought and barely used and quietly forgot about. The body doesn't forget what the mind has moved on from. So where does this leave you? Because I don't want to spend this entire video just explaining why things are broken. That's the easy part. Understanding is not the same as changing. And I think you already know that, because most people who overspend aren't ignorant about it. They know. They've known for a while. The awareness hasn't been the missing piece. So what is? Here's what I've come to believe, and what the research actually supports. The shift doesn't start with a budget. It starts with a pause. Not a long pause. Not a meditation retreat. Not a journaling practice you'll abandon in 3 days. Just a pause. A moment between the impulse and the action where something different becomes possible. Because what overspending really is, at its core, is a collapsed gap. The space between feeling something and reacting to it has been compressed down to almost nothing. The discomfort arrives and the hand moves. The emotion surfaces and the app opens. There's no room in between. Creating that room, even a small one, is where everything starts to change. Psychologists working in this space talk about something called the integration of the financial self. It sounds complicated. It isn't. It means bringing your conscious adult mind into a conversation that has, until now, been run entirely by a much younger version of you. It means asking, not why did I buy that, but what was I feeling right before I did? That question, asked honestly and consistently, begins to surface the script. And once you can see the script, once you can actually read the words, you have something you didn't have before. A choice. Not freedom from the pattern. Not overnight transformation. Just a choice. Which is more than most people ever get. If you've made it this far into the video, I want to take just a second to say something real. This kind of content doesn't go viral. It doesn't have a flashy thumbnail trick or a promise that'll make you rich in 30 days. It's just honest. And if that's what brought you here and kept you here, then you're exactly the kind of person this channel exists for. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Not for the algorithm. Because the next video might be the one that changes something for you. And I don't want you to miss it. Now, back to where we were. Because this is the part that matters most. There's a moment that every person who has genuinely shifted their relationship with money can point to. Not the moment they found the right budget app. Not the moment they got a raise. Something quieter than that. It's the moment they stopped being ashamed of the pattern and got curious about it instead. Shame closes doors. Curiosity opens them. When you stop punishing yourself for overspending and start asking, what is this spending protecting me from, the entire conversation changes. Because now you're not fighting a bad habit. You're listening to a signal. And signals carry information. Information you can actually use. Maybe the late night spending is protecting you from sitting with loneliness. Maybe the impulse purchases are the only place in your life where you feel like you get to choose something. Maybe the accumulation of things is the only way you know how to feel like enough. None of that makes you broken. It makes you human. With a history. Like everyone else in this video right now. And histories, with enough honesty and enough patience, can be rewritten. So let's bring this home. You started this video thinking it was about money. And it was. But it was also about something older than money. Something that was decided before you ever had a wallet, before you ever had a job, before you ever made a single financial decision on your own. It was about the version of you that learned, in a house, in a family, in a childhood, what money meant. What it felt like. What it could give you that nothing else seemed to. And that version of you did the best they could with what they had. But you're not that kid anymore. And the most honest thing I can leave you with is this: the heart tends to follow what it's been trained to treasure. And for a lot of us, without ever choosing it, we were trained to treasure the feeling that spending gives us. The relief. The control. The momentary sense that everything is okay. Untraining that is slow work. Quiet work. The kind that doesn't show up on a highlight reel. But it's the only work that actually lasts. You don't need to fix your budget first. You need to understand yourself first. The numbers will follow. They always do, once the person holding them starts to change. That's it. That's the whole thing. If this video made you think, hit that subscribe button and share it with 5 people in your life. Not because they're bad with money. Because they might need to hear that there's a reason. And reasons, unlike excuses, can be worked with. Leave a comment below, something sincere. Tell me what landed for you. And tell me what you want me to cover next. I read them. I build from them. This channel grows because of that conversation. I'll see you in the next one.